In the United States, the holiday season is approaching, and that can be very happy for some people. But if you are energy sensitive, it can also be really overwhelming, especially if you have family that you're going to be spending some time with that doesn't necessarily get you. So, today on this podcast, I'm going to be talking about how to protect your energy. So, stay tuned. Welcome to Spiritual and Ambitious. I'm your host, Whitney McNeill. I'm a certified medium and spiritual teacher, and I help spiritual and ambitious souls just like you live your life purpose through your career and attract abundance by connecting into your intuition and spirit guides. Let's get spiritual and ambitious. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to all of my listeners, but I see we are trending in Finland and Malaysia. So shout out to our listeners there. And I like to give a shout out as I see who's listening. And so if you are in a different country, keep on listening. Make sure you're downloading the episode. And I'd love for you to give me a review and I will give you a personal shout out. So with that being said, let's pull some cards as we start guiding our discussion about the holiday season. And the first card is listen to your inner voice instead of other people's opinions. Yeah, especially when it comes to family who doesn't really understand us. It's so interesting. It's like you can be a spiritual business owner, or maybe your family just knows that you're really open with your spiritual abilities and they don't understand. They give you their advice unsolicited and you don't need it. Listen to your inner voice, listen to your intuition. And the next card here is the sacral chakra. You are worthy. Reassess what you value. So remember, it's okay for you to not agree with people and it's okay to stand up for yourself. And your values might be different than the values of other people that you're going to be seeing this holiday season. So how do you protect your energy? Well, first, before you go into a holiday gathering, decide what you are going to share with people and what you are not going to share with people. You don't have to share all the things with your family, even if they continue to ask you about things. So you can be vague. You can say, you know what? I don't really want to talk about work. I just want to relax today. So those are some of the things that I have learned where my family, they're really well-intentioned, but I don't want to talk about work. And so I'll say, thank you so much for your interest. Everything's going fine. I just really don't want to talk about work. I just want to focus on my family right now. So that can be something that you can say. Go ahead, take it, use it, morph it, change it to something that works for you. But decide really clearly your boundaries ahead of time about what you're going to talk about and what you're not going to talk about. And that way, going forward, you won't find yourself in such awkward predicaments. So that can be something that you can change. Now, if there are some things that you do want to share, but you feel like it might not be received well, then take a few moments to really say it out loud and say what feels good to you. Number 2, put up your aura bubble. So I teach my students inside of 4 Intuitive Languages this all the time. Take a moment before you walk in to your family gathering, see what color wants to come up around you, and then breathe it out into your aura from your solar plexus about 2 feet everywhere around you. And just imagine that you're inside of this little energetic protective bubble. On the outside, it is a little bit harder so that energy can't necessarily come in, like negative energy can't come in, but it's breathable. So it's kind of like underwear. It's around you, but it's breathable, but it protects you from things, right? You want to make sure that you've got your aura bubble up. And here's the trick about the aura bubble. So you want to intend that it remain there throughout the entire gathering. But sometimes when you're having a conversation with an energy vampire, it can be a family member that just keeps trying to suck the life out of you. It reminds me of Colin Robinson on my favorite show, What We Do in the Shadows. He is an energy vampire. And sometimes people just are trying to feed off the energy, and sometimes unknowingly and harmless. But you can tell that the more you talk to them, your energy is waning and waning and waning. So when you are in the midst of a conversation, you can be talking, you can be looking at them, but also continue to see your aura bubble go up and around you during that entire conversation. Sometimes we need a little extra oomph during situations that are a little extra draining. And of course, you can practice disengagement with people too. You don't have to actually continue the conversation. You can get up and move around. Again, you can decide what you're going to share and what you are not going to share. And then what happens sometimes is there's an awkward silence, and we don't like the awkward silence sometimes. Embrace the awkward silence. Just be there and just feel peace. It's okay to have an awkward silence. All right. So the next tip I'm going to be sharing, I'll tell you after the break. As a professional psychic medium, I've done tens of thousands of readings, but I felt a call to move more fully into teaching intuition. But I still get so many requests about doing readings. So while I don't do readings anymore, I have brought in some very trusted colleagues who are now available for live 1 hour readings on Zoom. If you would like to book your psychic medium reading, go to messengerofspirit.com/appointments to see our available readers and schedule your Zoom reading today. Welcome back to this episode on how to protect your energy, specifically around the holiday season. We've talked about deciding what you're going to share and what you aren't before you go into a gathering. Put up your aura bubble. You can also practice disengagement and embrace the awkward silence. And now we're going to talk about crystals. Yes, you can utilize crystals and put them in your pockets, wear them in your jewelry. I know a lot of people that put them in their bra. So what crystals do you work with for protection? It really depends on you and your energy and what you feel drawn to. Amethyst can be a wonderful protector. Selenite can be a great protector where it filters out any negativity into positive light, but it's not necessarily great worn directly close to skin, just FYI. Citrine can be a wonderful aura buster is what we call it, where you're really strengthening the aura around you and strengthening your solar plexus, which is that battery where your energy is stored. So if you're feeling drained, this can add an extra boost. Black tourmaline can be really helpful. Hematite can be helpful. Obsidian. Those can feel a little heavy though sometimes, those 3 stones. So if you're wearing this, if you're putting it in your pockets, just know that you'll need to cleanse them. Selenite really doesn't need to be cleansed. I would still cleanse citrine and amethyst. Sometimes people say that citrine doesn't need to be cleansed. I say it does. So you can wear these different things in your energy and your aura. Depending on where you want to wear them, it might help different areas. So if you're putting it in your left pocket, then it could be helpful with blocking anything that you're receiving. If you are putting it in your right pocket, you are giving out that energy. If you're wearing it as a necklace, depending on where your necklace hits, it could be around the throat to protect your throat a little bit more. It might protect the high heart chakra or the heart chakra. So just know that where you're wearing it can make a difference, but crystals can be a little extra helpful. And before you work with crystals, always ask the crystal if it will work for you. And if you get a yes, and you will ask if it'll work for your intended purpose, always make sure that you cleanse and charge your crystals before and after use. So those are some things that you can do. And please, I think this is common sense, but in case it's not, if you're wearing a crystal on your body, of course, you want it to most of the time be pretty small and tumbled so it doesn't hurt you. It's not prickly. And there are some crystals out there that you cannot handle with direct hand contact. Like it's not good to put on your skin. So please research your crystals before use. Okay, we talked about those 3 things. Now it's time for limit your interaction time, which is similar to what I said before, detaching. Just take a few moments before you go in and decide how long you want to stay, or make a promise to yourself. When I start feeling XYZ, I'm leaving, or I'm only going to stay an hour. I'm only going to stay 2 hours. When somebody starts talking about this, I'm leaving. Make that distinction ahead of time and then communicate it to anybody who's joining you in the same car. Hey, this is my signal that I'm ready to leave, or around 1 o'clock, we are going to be leaving. Make that decision ahead of time, because what happens is when you get into family gatherings, most of the time you're going to be empathic. You're going to feel like you are being swept away in the energy and you lose track of time, or you feel like there's just one more thing I need to say. Or we can feel sometimes like, no, I just really do enjoy this. Then what happens? We get in the car, we have no more energy left over for the other things that we had during the night or the other things that we had after this event during the day, or we are drained for days and we need to be recharged. This happens to my husband quite a bit. He'll tell me, I'm going to leave at 5 o'clock. And then it's like 6:30. I'm like, well, where are you? Oh, I got to talk. And this person brought up this. And I just kept talking about it. So get really, really clear in your own heart and your own soul and feel what feels good to you. And then while you're having a conversation or while you're in the mix of things, limit the interaction time of the people that you're talking to that you don't love, or sit on a different side of the couch or move into a different room. And if you are at that place where you have to talk to somebody that you don't love, put up your aura bubble, and it's okay to walk away. It's okay to say no, which brings me to the last tip that I have for you. So, this is a little quick episode today. Practice saying no. Practice saying things that feel uncomfortable to you. So before you go into the family gatherings, maybe you kind of have an idea of what somebody might ask you. Maybe you're single and they're asking you when you're going to get in a relationship, or maybe you're in a relationship and they want to know when you're going to have kids, or they want to know something that is just really uncomfortable for you. So take some time and practice how you're going to say no, or just practice saying, thank you for that offer, but I don't want to talk about that right now. Or thank you for that offer, but I'm not able to do that. Or just, oh, thank you, I'm not able to do it. And you don't need an explanation. You don't need to say why. Some people might say, why? But can't you? Can't you do this and this? And you can just say, I'm not able to do that. Thank you. So practice saying no ahead of time, because what happens is when you're empathic and you're in the energy chaos of what's going on, we get swept away and we get connected with other people's feelings and their emotions, and we want to please them, and we want to say things, and we want to explain ourselves. If you walk into a party, an event, a situation with your aura bubble intact, you already have your prepped things that you're going to say, you're deciding what you're sharing, you're limiting your interaction time, and you got your crystals. It's always good to have some Reiki flowing out there too around you. Then you are much more equipped to be true to yourself rather than opening up your energy to everybody else's stuff. And, in these family gatherings too, people will latch on to empaths and want advice, want to tell them their problems. And even though you might be somebody that really cares about people that you're talking to, and of course, I'm sure you care about at least most of your family members, and that's okay, if you don't. Everybody's family is different. We can sometimes just get lost in that, and you need to protect yourself. Especially as a spiritual entrepreneur, you have time for sessions, and then you need to have time for family, and you being a family member, not somebody that solves everybody's problems, not an energy healer, not an intuitive. And you might say, but Whitney, how can I compartmentalize? Like, I am this person through and through, no matter where I am in life. And that is true. But what also is true is that you are also a family member. So all these things can be true at the same time, but it doesn't mean that you have to live in that, to act on it, and to be in it at that very moment. It's like a prism. There's a crystal. You turn it one way and it reflects rainbows. You turn it a different way and it reflects a different kind of light. And so it's okay to just reflect a certain kind of light versus being in this place where you have to be something they want you to be. Be who you are and retain your own energy. And my wish for you this holiday season is that you have joy and that you have fun, but you can still have boundaries and do that. and that you are still recharged and not exhausted and so tired at the very end. All right, my friend, here's to this holiday season and my best wishes for you. I'll be back next week with a new episode. Until then, here's to staying spiritual and ambitious. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. And if you loved it, would you please share it with a friend? I would also love your review and a reminder to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find me at messengerofspirit.com, and you can take the 4 Intuitive Languages quiz and find show notes there too. If you want to connect on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, you can find me at Messenger of Spirit. I'll meet you right here next week. Here's to staying spiritual and ambitious.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.